Hey everybody, I am Melissa McKay. I'm a developer advocate with JFrog, and I am here at the DevOps Speakeasy at JFocus 2023 with Guy Royse.
Howdy, howdy. How you doing?
Guy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, you're a developer advocate with JFrog.
Yes.
I'm a developer advocate at Redis. So
At Redis.
we're birds of a feather.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's my total identity. It's completely just my job and Redis.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a software engineer that likes to talk to people, and
Awesome.
I've always liked to talk to people, but now I have the great fortune of being paid to do it.
Yes.
In addition to writing cool things,
Yep.
It's a fantastic gig. I'm very
Yep.
grateful to have the opportunity to be a developer advocate and have my company bankroll my trips around the world and everything. It's fantastic,
Yes, that is one of the advantages of being a developer advocate. You have the opportunity to help, to engage with other developers, especially at conferences like this. And we've run into each other at other conferences.
Yep.
And it's always a pleasure to be able to talk to people and ask questions, find out what's going on in the community, and to be able to help their lives be a little bit easier as developers, because we're asked to do a lot of stuff.
I actually kind of view my role as really mostly that of an educator.
Yes.
More than anything.
Yes.
And it's usually education on things that I'm interested in.
Uh-huh.
Well, I mean,
That
obviously,
helps.
in a way, that helps, right? But I'll get some tech stack that I'm interested in that I want to learn about, and then so I'll dive in and learn it, and then in the process of figuring it all out and explaining it to myself, then I end up finding that I've built something that the rest of the community needs, and that can turn into a talk or a video or blog post or just a GitHub repo or whatever. And so it takes something that is a little opaque, and I'm kind of building like a roadmap for people to explore it and discover and learn about the thing in a real. I try to make it as accessible as possible, and with as few assumptions for existing skill sets. And so I tend to build content that's around, it's like from first principles.
Right.
Because that casts the widest net.
Right.
So, and it's a real privilege.
Really interesting you point that out. This is something I learned a while ago, but I think it's important to say is that in order to educate and to teach, you don't have to be an expert first.
What's an
like
expert
you said,
anyhow?
Exactly. No,
The expert says so much without saying anything at all.
Right. There's always new stuff
The word
to learn.
expert, not experts, right? Experts say lots of things too, and well, maybe they don't say anything at all either. But sorry, I totally talked over you there.
That is true. But yeah, it's important, like documenting that journey.
Yeah.
And then making sure that someone else can follow you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's about sharing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you are here to give a talk.
I am here to give a talk. I actually gave a workshop yesterday and a talk today.
Okay.
So I work for Redis, and so of course all my content has an element of Redis to it.
Yeah.
Yesterday I did a half-day workshop called Beyond the Cache with Node.js and Redis.
Nice.
So it's an introduction to Redis for JavaScript developers.
Okay.
And it starts out from first principles. It's like, who here knows what Redis is? And it was great, actually. 4 people raised their hands in a room of about 25.
Oh, wow.
And so I had a chance to, okay, you're in the right place.
Yeah, to be able to evangelize.
Yeah.
They definitely
And,
need to know what Redis is. In fact, for our audience that might not know, do you want to give a quick description of what Redis is?
Yeah, if you're not familiar with Redis, I like to think of it as the most distilled version of Redis I could describe it as is networked memory. And so it's all those data structures that if you took a computer science class, you learned about in computer science. And if you didn't, it's hash tables and linked lists and these things that you're using even if you don't know that's what they're called.
Right.
On a server behind a wire protocol, behind a socket. And so you just there's a protocol you connect remotely to it and say, add this thing to this hash table and get me this value out of this blob of data, that sort of stuff. And what it results in is it's all in memory but can be persisted to disk. And so you get like just a stupid fast database.
Nice.
So Redis, you've heard it here, folks. Redis is a stupid fast database.
Excellent.
So.
Now, what is a use case scenario? Why would somebody need to learn a tool like this? Why is it important?
Well, doesn't everyone need a stupid fast database?
Exactly. But it's not like if I were to throw other databases out there, like MySQL or Postgres. It's not
It's
really
not like them at all.
utilized that way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, the sort of the one-line marketing sort of snippet is it's an in-memory NoSQL database.
Got it. Yeah.
I actually like to say it's memory first because in-memory makes everyone think that when I turn my computer off, it's gone,
right.
which isn't the case. There is persistence as well, but it's contained in memory primarily and then persisted to disk periodically. So it's so it is memory first, which is why it's fast. And so the main use case is I need my stuff to be really, really fast.
Okay.
As a memory-first database, it's often used as a cache. That's easily the most common scenario for Redis. It's what people use it for more than anything else. Another popular use case for Redis is for like session database for users. It's like, well, if they lose their session, it's not the end of the world, and then we don't bother to persist it, or, well, you know, we've got a cluster, and so.
Right.
So that's not the end of the world. But it also works equally well for, it's really just, you need to store stuff.
Right.
You want it to be fast. That's really the fundamental use case.
Would you say this is one of the principles, like a design principle as well? Like, for example, if you have, you know, you've got microservices or you have a cluster of your service, you don't want to be storing state or anything like that within your service, right? You would use something like Redis to do this.
I'm not sure I completely agree with that statement, actually. I mean, there's two schools of thought with the microservices, which is, you know, microservices are like contained things entirely. They got their own database and everything. And then there's others where there's more of like a database that a lot of the microservices have in common.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know that one's any more valid than any other. You know, what's right?
Just whatever the use case is, or what.
Well, ultimately, it derives down. Those sort of decisions boil down to the business value that's being added, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Like one of the things that I've been thinking about with this is a thought that I've been sort of noodling on a lot is we all say that the primary use case of Redis is caching. That tends to be what everyone thinks.
Yeah.
It's certainly more than that. But actually, it's used more often to sort of plaster over suboptimal architectures.
Right.
And so we've designed something, we built it up over time. We didn't see where it was going to go long term because it's hard to have long term vision because the world's always changing. I'm not blaming anyone out there who's built bad architecture. I've built bad architecture because you don't know where it's going. Right? It's just there's a certain element of what you do that just it has to be reactive.
Yep.
And if you try to plan too far ahead, you're always wrong.
Yep.
And so what happens is that you get something and then it doesn't scale because of time and bit rot, basically.
Right.
And so using something to put in front of that to enhance the performance is a good strategy.
Yeah.
And so so Redis gets used like that a lot too. We've kind of meandered. I'm not sure what my original point was now.
Well, we got to talking about Redis and all the interesting things Redis can do.
You know, we should talk about Redis some more.
It's a very interesting tool. How about you? Tell us, how did your workshop go?
I was really happy with it.
Yeah.
I didn't get very many questions, which I'm taking to be a good thing.
You know, sometimes developers won't ask right away. They you just need to noodle on it, think about it, try some things on your own, and then, you know, maybe they'll reach out to you later.
Yeah. Well, so when I put on workshops, I have a philosophy, which is it needs to be a workshop, not a talk shop.
Yes.
I mean, you've been to the talk shops, right?
Absolutely.
You've been to talk shops, right?
I need to learn by doing. I can't just listen. I've got to do something.
And so I'll have a presentation in there to provide some context and to guide what's being worked on.
Right.
But most of the workshop is really a series of markdown files in a GitHub repository that has some starter code in it.
Okay.
And you read through it, and then you try these things, and then I ask some questions and saying, okay, given what I've taught you so far here, what do you think the answers to these questions are? And just answer them for yourself.
Yeah.
And then they build up an API. In this case, with Express building a simple REST API.
Right.
And our next victim has arrived. Yeah, sorry. So I didn't get a lot of questions because I think the instructions were pretty thorough.
Right.
And so that's why I take it as a good thing.
Yeah.
The thing we built was fun.
Cool.
So we built a RESTful API for tracking Bigfoot.
Oh.
So I've got
this. That makes it fun.
Yeah. I have this data set that I got online of Bigfoot sightings screen scraped from the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization.
Right.
And
I didn't know there was such a thing.
I didn't either.
That's cool.
But they have this website, says right on the website, established 1995, and if you look at the website, it clearly was built in 1995. But the data's fantastic. The stories are very enjoyable. They're fun to read, and it makes for a fun data set.
Yeah.
And so, you can then build this little app and load all the Bigfoot data into it, and then, search for like Walmart or something,
right.
And find out how many Bigfoot sightings have the word Walmart in them. Yeah. There are 3, by the way.
Nice. Well, good. This is a really good example, I think, of what a workshop could be like. Lots of material for them to work on later on their own. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the hard part with a workshop is if you're kind of forcing everyone to be into a lockstep. It's like, let me teach you some things and then go do it, and then teach you some things and then go do it. Right. And people work at different rates.
Right. And
so I try to put into the material enough that if people are moving more quickly, they can move ahead if they want, and the talky talk part isn't essential.
Right.
It's adding value, but it's not, you can do one or the other and get value from either of them. But together they, add even more value is the hope.
Yeah.
But trying to break out of that lockstep problem, because I don't know how many times I've sat in workshops, and I'm sure you have too, where you're like, okay, what's next?
Right, you're just waiting.
I'm waiting for 15,
like everyone
20 minutes.
has to catch up to the same step.
I'm just checking my email, reading Reddit, whatever.
Exactly. Exactly.
And not the best use of my time, so I try not to build things that work that way.
Yeah. Well, I'm learning a lot from you. I probably need to revamp some of my own
That's
content
shocking.
now.
I'm sorry you had to hear it from me.
Well, my first step is go find this Bigfoot data. That sounds incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
To work with.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I've used this in several talks over the years, and the same person who gathered the Bigfoot data has a set of UFO sightings, which is my talk this afternoon.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Understanding probabilistic data structures with 112,092 UFO sightings.
Wow.
And he's got a bunch of haunted places, which is fun, and he has the guy's name's Tim Renner. And he screen scraped all these paranormal sites for their data sets to do machine learning. And the last one he has on there is Dogman sightings. Yeah,
that's
exactly. I have no idea what Dogman
new.
is, but apparently Dogman's a thing. I don't know. The data set's kind of small, but apparently there's a website with all the sightings reported on it. So.
Well, interesting. Yeah.
Silly stuff.
Yeah. Well, when you're learning something, it's always good to have something, a goal, a purpose, a project you're actually doing. So having real data to work with.
Real.
Real. Real data.
Well, it's
always
data,
entertaining.
and it's taking up actual bytes, so I guess it's real,
Yes. Well, is this your first time at JFocus?
Yeah, it is. It's my first time in Sweden, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do you think so far?
Oh, it's cold and beautiful.
Yes, it is very much so. I have to agree with you.
Yeah.
It's
It's
cold.
unseasonably warm this year, which means it's around freezing.
Right. Right.
But Sunday we did right after I arrived, we did a tour of the old city, which is gorgeous.
And it was snowing.
Yes, it was.
Right? Yeah.
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 Got all through my beard.
Beautiful, beautiful location. Really happy to be here as well. This is my second time.
Yeah.
Last year was in May, so it was definitely a little warmer, spring weather. This time definitely colder, so if you come prepared, it's fine though.
Yeah, I did.
It's beautiful.
I'm from the Midwest.
Beautiful
I'll be
city.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was actually kind of hoping to be colder, so that I could have like bragging rights, say, well, I've been to Sweden in the middle of the winter.
Right.
It's not that bad.
Cool. Well, you had a chance to see the audience come in earlier today. Are you excited with all of these people? I guess we were expecting
I think there's like 2,000 people.
2,000 people here. So.
Yeah, I am. I'm kind of curious how many people are going to show up in a way, because probabilistic data structures are kind of a niche topic. They're really fascinating. It's a really interesting idea, but it's not something that for a lot of developers comes up a lot.
Right.
Like if you're an enterprise developer, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way. Of course, I spent 15 years of my career, 20 years of my career doing enterprise software development work. You don't need generally the sorts of problems that you solve with probabilistic data structures are things where, well, we've got 150 million users, and we need to make sure this username's not taken. You know, that's not a kind of problem that an insurance company has to solve.
Right.
Because they just don't have that many users. It's not the same sort of problem. It's the kind of problem that like Facebook has to solve.
Right.
And so it makes the topic a little niche, but they're fascinating, and there's a lot of, and there are things, like I was at a conference it's called Tech Bash in the Poconos in the U.S. It was kind of a small event. It's at an indoor water park.
Oh, nice.
And it was good fun. And one of the data structures I talk about, it was for comparing documents to see if they've changed enough to bother re-indexing them, or to, you know, whatever you want to do. It's like, are these similar enough? Maybe they're cheat, and maybe it's plagiarism, right?
Right.
And this guy had developed some sort of homebrewed system to do this. And he saw my talk, and it's like, oh, the min hash would have been what I actually needed. I'm going to go in and change my code. And so that wasn't like some massive, you know, social media, you know, video platform thing. It was just, well, we've got a bunch of documents that we're managing. So they are relevant to everyone, but some of them are more relevant than others to everyone.
Right.
So.
That always feels good, doesn't it? When
Yeah.
you've shared what you know and it actually benefits somebody. It doesn't matter the size of the project. Just the fact that, you know, somebody learned through something that you spoke about. It's just an incredible feeling.
It is really nice when it's like, hey, I added value today.
Exactly.
Because sitting on the airplane doesn't feel like you're adding value.
Right.
And answering questions on Stack Overflow often gives you that sense of value, or answering questions. We have a Discord server that we do for a lot of tech support for Redis at discord.gg/Redis. And that's pretty satisfying because you're helping people out directly. It doesn't scale very well, but it still feels pretty good.
Yeah. Sometimes you need the one-on-one interactions. I think those are important too.
Yeah.
Well, it was wonderful talking with you.
Likewise.
I'm excited to see you more the rest of the conference. Perhaps maybe step into your talk, see how it's going in there.
Yeah, you should.
And
everyone should attend my talk.
Of course. And of course, if you have any questions about Redis, this is the man to talk to and reach out to.
Absolutely. I think my Twitter ID is on the screen below somewhere. Wait, hang on. There, I'm aiming at it right now. There's my Twitter ID. That's honestly my name. No one has my name. If you just Google me, you'll find me. So,
awesome.
And
that guy over there.
Well, I even have guy.dev as a domain name.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, it was like when the .dev domain names were coming out, I snagged it early on, and it's like I have a 3-letter domain name. No one has those. It's great.
All right, Guy. Well, thank you so much. Always
Absolutely.
a pleasure talking with you. And looking forward to the rest of this conference.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.